down the river. I looked at that and I went, I was flying up and down that river. Fishing at the same time, light cigarettes.
I used to fly around the island, you know, I knew which rocks.
Yeah, of course you
You
did.
know, I knew all my, well, I've been doing it since I was a little
Yeah,
kid.
exactly.
And I knew, you know, I knew right where my feet were going and where's that? Yeah, and Veralax lenses will cure you.
So I think you just press on the arrow.
Veralax lenses can cure you with that.
Perhaps you did, show me what you have in mind. Well, it sent me all these letters.
If I had 5 hens trying to lay eggs in the same box today, it reminds me a lot of this conversation.
You're coming.
All right, so time delays.
Quick, bang the gavel.
You have to.
No, we're getting this sound. We're getting this feed from. How to do it. One time in
You do?
Yeah, I did. It's back.
So I gotta ask everybody to be quiet for a second so we can figure out what's happening.
Folks, could everyone please stop talking?
No.
We have.
See, we're getting this. I don't know what to do. There's this delay in the sound.
This is very delayed.
May I make a suggestion, if we can't get this to operate, that we just can it for the night and keep proper minutes, because that's legal.
Everybody's,
Nobody done one.
Well, they might try, but
This is the YouTube anyway, this is not.
That's
the
true.
Zoom.
Yeah, so,
you could just take it.
I think I can turn off the, no, it says Zoom and YouTube. But we have this.
If you click maybe on the sound button, you know, I don't know.
Southtown Park.
I don't know.
We don't have one of our owl experts here.
I'm gonna, if I can get rid of Google and just stay on Zoom, that would be better, but I'm not sure what will happen.
It wasn't on for the budget meeting?
Here. Now let's try.
They probably messed with it.
Yeah, got it.
Yes. Now if I go live with YouTube,
That was insane.
oh, it's commendable.
well, I hit live and nothing happens.
Yeah,
It's working.
it's going around.
All right, there may not be sound on it, but that's better than having it talk with a delay. Okay, so I'm calling the meeting to order at 6:07. And so, are there any adjustments? There are adjustments to the agenda.
We're all afraid to talk now.
Well, it's not your turn. Anyway. All right, adjustments to the agenda are a very small item in old business on the main trails bond. New business, at Theo's request, with adding the Westgate water sampling program with DEP. And I can wait till you catch up. Are you okay? Okay. And, just, I think everybody should have got it. The message that the Knox Regional Airport APAC is looking for somebody to fill the environmental chair. And I would like to just report on what I've learned about what the Resilience Committee is doing about jointly going in with St. George to get a sustainability coordinator. Yes,
The, position of the airport, that doesn't have to be a South Thomaston resident, right?
no, it does not. It is the environmental, they have, what they do is they've got 10 members, 5 of them are geographic. And there is a South Thomaston person. And 5 of them are subject matter focused. So one is environmental and one is the, I don't have them all on the top of my head, but the pilots and the airport businesses and the local businesses and that sort of thing. So environmental can be anywhere in Knox County, from anywhere in Knox
So I
County.
could speak, if I was talking about it to somebody, I could speak to people from our head.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Or Camden or whatever. Yes. So, any other adjustments to the agenda? Okay. Review and approval of the February minutes. Everybody should have gotten them for a second look. Any changes?
Make the motion to approve the minutes of the last meeting.
All in favor?
All right.
Done. And I think the next order of business is to say how glad we are to have you with us.
So,
Welcome, John.
Yeah.
thank you. You know, it's glad to be here.
Good.
And I may, I don't know if anybody with more experience may want to be on the airport commission, but it would be something that I would be interested in. I used to fly.
Oh, okay. What they'd really like is somebody with environmental experience.
Well, that's what I'm asking. There may be other people on, you know, that have more environmental experience.
I'm sorry, what?
There may be other people that have more experience than I with environment, you know, I mean.
Well,
You can throw your hat in and, you know, they may not get many candidates.
well, I think there are a couple people who've expressed interest, and one, I kind of have a sense of his background, and he does have qualifications, but he also has said, I've got a lot on my plate, and if somebody else comes forward, I will be happy not to do this.
Right.
And then there's somebody I just got a message from today saying he'd heard about it. I have never heard of him, so I'm gonna need to get back to him and try and put him in touch with the right people and get a sense of what his skill set might be. But they're still looking.
Yeah. So what's the process? Should the scientists a big, you know?
There was I sent a message saying what the process was, which was basically to put them in touch with Jeff Northgraves.
Yeah.
And the email says, as much as I know about, you know, how the APAC functions. Linda was the person, she's the one who's not renewing. So folks here, if they have questions about how it works, can certainly ask Linda. But she's done her turn.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be a great rush to fill the.
Well, we'll see how it goes.
It's very interesting
Is it?
to do it, to see the inner workings of the airport.
Mhm.
So I enjoyed that.
You know, it really is a nice thing for the community to have, and so.
Since we're on the topic of the airport, I walk and go to the park and the beach, and they have a buffer zone right by Baliak Road, and they have just cut down the woods and so forth, and
The airport
there is a
does?
mountain of wood chips And I am eyeing it with envy for our girls here. So I'm thinking of just mentioning it to Jeff, if it's not spoken for, if there was a way we could find volunteers with trucks to load all those chips and bring them over. That would be,
Where are they now?
what's that?
Where are the chips now?
They are right at the head of Ballyhack. I think it's Ballyhack Cove Street, or, you know, when you go to Birch Point State Park.
The road that goes down to the.
From Dublin to the Birch Point State Park.
Oh,
That's
oh,
that
okay.
road.
Yep, yep.
So right down, you know, at the intersection by the fence of the airport, they have cut down, it's a buffer zone for one of their runway. So, you know, they look like very healthy wood chips, so.
Healthy wood chip. What do healthy wood chips look like?
They look nice and
I know,
clear,
joking.
rotten.
I know, they're not rotting yet. I know. Okay. So on item old business B, I just remind you that we still do have a vacancy and do keep your eyes and ears open for someone who might want to join us. And then I think the next two probably need to be discussed together, Earth Day cleanup day plans
Yep.
and what Theo would like to propose for maybe an indoor event the same day.
And I'd like to withdraw that proposal because it's too short notice, and also I just the logistics when I thought about trying to bring everything into the library building, you know, and somehow bring people through there to a room which they have offered. And was offered that we could use it, but I'm thinking that shortness of time and also that kind of a conflict that we should postpone it, and I'm thinking May, or possibly even June, but you know, weather's better, we can do it outside. And it'll be our function, you know, that
Yeah.
it'll be specifically for that.
There might be a bit advantage to waiting until summer people are up.
Yeah, that's right,
Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, and it is my fault, I'm just traveling. But, you know, this is something you just say, oh, we're gonna do it in 2 weeks, you know, bingo.
You know, I would like to suggest that you may want to consider doing it in the parking lot here also, because, you know, if you're going to do it on a Saturday, there are so many people who go to the community center, the parking lot, it's gonna be a bit of a difficulty
You're
to.
right. I wonder, can we do that?
Well, you need to talk to the office about it.
Yeah,
Okay,
it's-
all right.
good thinking.
Well, and focus on a date. And
Yeah, well, I, you know, and any input would be great. I need to look at my calendar frankly, and I think we all do. So, so I'm putting down to get in touch with the town, which is no longer Terry.
it's Terry, well, they're transitioning. It's
Yeah.
Terry's officially administrator through this fiscal year. So July 1, Hannah will be the town administrator. Terry will be CEO and still helping in the office about 15 hours a week.
But until then, until the town meeting, then it's still Terry.
Yes.
Well, they're really just double teaming it, so
Yeah.
you can bring it up with either of them, I'm sure.
Yeah, so I'm gonna ask, I mean, I love the idea of doing it.
Yeah, because I mean, the parking lot is a good place, because if they have an emergency, the truck are going down that way, so
Right.
they don't need to use the parking lot.
Right.
So,
No, they have their own.
yeah,
I like it.
All right,
And our summer residents might be, you know, when they arrive, shaking things out and like, to get rid of something.
they probably have better stuff than we do. Yeah, I look at it.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Not, there's too many things around Memorial Day.
I've got, the work on publication notice, which stuff got sent out.
Yes, I contacted the Penn Bay Pilot, the Free Press and the Village Scoop, and it's all in
Right.
the Penn Bay Pilot, they.
Right,
did this article.
I'll get in touch with you because I want to write one more, but I want to make sure I get the publication date, so it's as close to the date as possible, but I'll try to get back in touch.
I thought we were deciding on a date, but we have already decided on a date.
The 20th, I think, well, let me look it up again.
Last time.
I thought it was the 20th.
Yeah, it's on my calendar here.
Yeah, I'm just, yeah, it's just like, Bob, would I
think you
say-
Yes, Saturday.
Saturday.
Yeah, the 20th, the 20th.
For Earth
I
Day.
want to tell you that on Google, if you click on local news, you pop up right front with the nice poster and everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful. The other
So
thing I need to
April-
do
it
is,
April 20th, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
I'll stop in and, I'll try to stop in at Saturday coffee or something like that and just talk to people about it if your because most of them are my age and older, if your grandkids are up, it might be blah, 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 trying to get some, new people in. I have checked for gloves and everything, I bought garbage bags, so we have plenty of materials.
Have you checked with Penny about the date?
Yeah, Penny's all set with Penny,
All right.
and then I have to get in touch with the transfer
I will do
station.
that. I'll do that.
Okay, but my question there, in case I ever needed to do it in the future, do they want to know like as far in advance as possible, or do they just want to know the week before?
I think I'll let them know this weekend.
Okay,
They,
all right.
no, I don't think they have fire in advance. They just
Right.
want to, all of a sudden, big tires start coming in and.
Yeah, I have
Yeah.
a question actually about tires. I've numbered 4 of them on Dublin Road.
Yes,
So how do we handle tires?
You
Because
put them
I
in a
cannot,
truck and you bring them
I
out.
don't have a truck, so
I
there is
do.
no way I can.
I do.
Chuck,
Okay.
I will have a truck that
So
day, so if you
you'll
get
have,
the
but you have
tires.
somebody, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
I'm hopefully gonna go around with it if it works
Yeah,
out. and
okay.
pick
so.
stuff.
And it's good because-
I will pull them, you know, to the side of the road,
Okay.
and then when you drive, it'll be very obvious.
Because, you have to charge, they charge for tires except when it's a cleanup day.
Yeah,
Right.
so,
And when we're talking to people there, the request is that they bring the stuff back to the library,
Yes. yes,
as opposed to leaving it on the side of
because
the
Rather
road.
than going, yeah. I mean,
Right. Yeah,
right, but if it's not a tire, then you'll come to them.
Yes,
yeah.
yes, yeah. I
um,
know, you know, if you know where to shop.
and I talked with Sandra and I talked the other day, and I'm not gonna try to do the cookout. I think next year I might, because I've actually got young people with a kid moving up to live with us, and I'm gonna get involved in the school system. Because that is really where you get the young people
Yeah.
in, but,
Water would be nice probably though.
Hmm?
You just get water perhaps, just bottled water perhaps,
okay, all right,
just that.
yeah, all right, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got gloves, bags, you know, the grabbers, all that stuff. I have, I'll reprint up more of the sign up sheets, so it's pretty well, going along.
Yeah.
If we can get 10 people to participate, we're about average. I think that was it on the road side.
You told me about plans to put up signs.
Oh, yeah, so what I will do, if it's gonna be on Saturday, the Sunday before it, I'm gonna go out and put up the signs that say, roadside cleanup this Saturday.
Mhm.
So people will know, and then as I said, we'll try to get one more thing in the paper.
And we'd like to, I'm trying to think, I mean, I don't know quite how to do this, but I mean, unfortunately, buttermilk always seems to be the worst of the worst.
Yeah,
So when people come, if they ask, we should, that's where I'd always like to start because you could almost do a buttermilk cleanup.
well, what we could ask people to do is starting at this end, the first person to ask, where can I go? I say, listen, start at Buttermilk, take this sign and put it where you start.
Yes, yes.
Right, and then the next person go down, past the last sign that you see, because hopefully there'll be 5 signs on it. Okay,
I'm gonna do my own, I'm gonna, I would.
Yeah, I'm gonna do building, it's just always.
right, so here's the question is if a lot of people end up on Buttermilk, can we tell them to leave it beside the road? Because that's just one
Yes.
straight shot.
Yes,
So if you're
yes.
working Buttermilk, if
Yes.
you don't wanna bring it back here, you need to clean
Yes.
Buttermilk.
But you should have put it in, don't just put a whole bunch of big thing,
Yeah.
no, it doesn't.
Yeah,
Yes.
no, I'll be there to help,
Yeah, that's fine. I
okay,
think I can get my friend Tyler to help too.
yeah.
Yeah,
This is my
okay.
last year in business and I'm getting a little more casual about it. So for me to sit back there and say, I'm not gonna go into work on Saturdays, like the first time in 55 years I've been able to say
But
that.
that would be the only exception would be buttermilk, because we could easily pick it up on.
Yes, exactly, yeah, okay,
Okay,
Pick up the trash.
good.
yes, but otherwise, have it come back here, yeah. With the exception of buttermilk.
So that's out. So we're down to 4th.
Is that covered?
Yep.
Okay. South Thomas and Forest Preserve. Everybody but John has got a copy of the grant application. John, I will see that you get it.
Okay,
It is a monster.
Mhm.
I couldn't get it through my server, so I had to chop it into bits. But if we don't get the grant, it won't because we didn't make a good application.
Yes.
That's all I can say.
Fantastic application.
Yeah, I've been involved in this in other towns and stuff like that. I'll say the work you two did. I mean, from starting from nothing. Fantastic. Thank you very, very much. Because I've seen groups of 4 people fail at this, which is probably the problem.
With the blindfold.
Something I find overwhelming, so that's.
Well, and it was particularly hard because everybody who could mentor us disappeared.
Yeah, wasn't there, retired or gone,
Annette retired. Then the person at Land Remains Future, who mentored us through the first stage, the inquiry form, literally the day after forms were due, took another job. So I think she had probably accepted the job long since and said, I will hang in for this round.
Right.
And so we get the news that we are eligible to apply to submit the full application. At the same time, we get the news that there's nobody there to help us. They have 1 guy left, 2 vacancies, and
And he's a little
he's
overwhelmed.
totally overwhelmed. So,
We may want to check
Yeah.
because when they are getting ready to review hours, I think, you know, it's okay if somebody is there in person to advocate for it, so.
well, I hope that's not right away.
Is that a
I need
possibility?
breather.
Yes, like, you know, in the past years, you know, because I was getting their agendas and so forth, and, I think in the past year, they actually required somebody to be there.
Okay,
And, like, on the last, agenda we received, where they seem to be still discussing the previous round applications and make
Right.
sure that people have done what they were supposed to do. So I'm not sure they have started reviewing
There
this
was on
year's.
that agenda to take a look at the new applications,
Yeah,
but it was a big agenda and they wouldn't have had time to do much.
yeah, so I think they'll probably start next month, yeah.
cool. Well, I mean, so by the time we get to town meeting, do you think there'd be an answer to the question, or is it
No.
something you don't know? Okay. But we are able to stand up and say, we did what we said we're gonna do, which is
Yeah.
get the process going. I mean, we're 90%
Yeah, and
through it.
even, actually, did the surveyor start his work?
That I don't know, but we should back up and say that Catherine pulled off a wonderful coup and got us a grant. Theoretically, I mean, on its face, it's a grant for the full cost of the survey, the full estimated cost. There's Georges River Land Trust will take a bite out of it as their fee for being the conduit, because the foundation has to give to a 501c3 nonprofit, which we are not. So
Mhm.
for Georges River to serve as the pass-through, they take 8%. But we can make that up with donations.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we're just, I'm happy it could happen, but it's not my money.
Yeah, no,
I'm sure
I mean, we owe that to your connections. I'm sure that's what it is. So thank you very, very much. If you used up a favor.
Yeah.
Right.
Which depends a bit.
Yeah, all right, all right.
Right, and so I am on my list, but this is budget committee week, so I'm not doing much else. But on my list is to send a letter, which the select board has blessed. Asking those who already gave
Funds.
donations to repay the cost of purchase, to explain that we may not need that and may we please use their donation for something else. So that'll be, I'll do a draft, run it by Catherine and Sally, and when the 3 of us are comfortable, I'll run it by the select board, and then we'll figure out how to, so, you know, everything. And when you're in a bureaucracy, everything has many steps, but it will happen. And then we'll send another letter out to everybody on the listserv, et cetera, saying, here's all the things we are going to need money for, and we could sure use some donations. So we'll see how that goes. Because just to qualify for this grant, in addition to the survey, we're going to need a very expensive appraisal. We are going to need an environmental risk assessment. And if they find anything in the risk assessment, we will have to do cleanup. And there will be more legal fees for ensuring that we have clear title to the property that we bought. Jeff Smith sold us his 118 acres with a warranty deed, but we have only a quit claim deed for Klein because they'd never surveyed it. So there will be steps to go through to clear the questions about how good is our title, et cetera.
And that becomes important for any grant that we might want to get associated with the land. It's just
Oh, yes.
absolutely clearing that title.
Recorded survey, title insurance. Yes,
then,
all
and
that.
then all the way even to the long range plan for the forester. You know.
Right.
Yeah, so
Right.
that comes last. The silver lining about Klein, even though we have work to do for the title, is one parcel is moot because it's, you know, will be part of the whole thing. And it's just the edge, one edge on the outside
Right.
Mhm.
limit that's, you know, needs to be really
Wonderful.
clarified. So. And so, I mean, these are just steps. Again, it's like nitty gritty, but we know what has to be done and it's just slogging through it.
Right, and when you go in front of the townspeople at town meeting, you start talking about what the future costs will be, look back to what we've accomplished.
Yeah.
It's not a pipe dream, we've got some foundation, we're in a pretty good position.
I mean, I don't wanna, you know, count my chicken
No.
quite yet, but, you know, my feeling is if they say you can submit a full application, is that they intend to give you the money, otherwise they wouldn't have you go through all that
Right.
stuff, you know.
Yeah,
The question will be how much, because again, the appraisal will be key there, but,
Yeah.
if we can get the whole amount, that would be quite phenomenal.
wouldn't it? Yeah.
It would be terrific. But yeah, let us, as you said, not count the chickens quite yet. Also in connection with the forest preserve, if you recall, Jeff Smith required as a condition of selling to us that ATVs be barred. And
Thank you, Jeff.
when this first came up, we said, okay, well, we'll bar ATVs, and I guess how on earth would we allow ATVs on Klein, which you have to go through Smith to get to anyway? But John Spear at the beginning was saying, oh, those ATV people have always used that land, and how can we tell them no? And then his lovely wife came out to have a look at what damage those ATVs were doing. He did a 180. We have a total convert. And he is now working on an ordinance to present to town meeting that will bar ATVs from all town-owned land.
Good,
Ta-da.
good.
They do a lot of damage.
They do appalling damage, which we documented in the grant application.
Cool.
Right. So I think there'll be more, you know, as the months go on, there'll be more about the forest preserve, but that's sort of a nice benchmark we have arrived at. Any questions? I can move on. On the main trails bond, I just want to say that by the time I got on a select board agenda to say, was it okay if we speak for the town and say we support it? And they said that was fine, but then I had to find time to write a letter, by which time the bill had moved so far and had so many sponsors that what little old South Thomaston thought about it was pretty irrelevant. So it's got lots of sponsors. And in effect, it's only proposing to ask for money in the form of bond issue. So I'm hopeful, but we just have to see what the legislature does with it. But if they did, there would be money for trail development, which is the next thing we're going to need. Not next, but down the road, we're going to need. So think good thoughts. Pay attention to it. It crops up in the news every once in a while. And that completes old business. On the next, the first thing on new business is just to let you know that the Historical Society has asked me and Neil Cambridge as chairs of the Conservation Commission and the Community Resilience Committee to do a joint presentation at the May meeting on what it is we're doing. So
May meeting, which meeting?
the Historical Societies,
Their meeting. Oh, okay.
Their May
Good.
meeting.
Oh, good, good. Yeah,
Right.
Say
Say that again.
That's
May
the
9th.
second Thursday of the month.
It's May 9th, I believe.
Yeah, so it's May 9th, yeah.
That's wonderful.
So you might want to put it on your calendar, maybe think of coming
What is
to it.
Historical Society, May 9th is gonna be.
The West Historical Society,
Yeah.
so the little red schoolhouse.
Yeah, oh, what
It's
is
the
it they're exactly trying to do? This is the part I'm not getting.
to do, they just want to hear what we're doing. They need,
Oh,
they
Yes, sir.
have and monthly programs, and in her desperation,
No, it's wonderful.
Kathy Florence.
So it's the
asked-
Conservation Commission and the Resilience Group, right?
Right,
they wanna know what we're doing.
right, so, we will. Certainly, I'll talk about Forest Preserve, and Neil will be talking about the solar array that they got with their first grant, and the next thing they're looking to do, which is to jointly with St. George, hire a sustainability coordinator who will help them understand how to find out what the needs and vulnerabilities are and develop a climate action plan that will be the umbrella for whatever other grants they're seeking, because they'll be saying, we know what we need to do, and that's why we could use this grant, which would help us to do X, which is in our plan. So that's the process, I would guess that he'll be talking about. And it's also started Neil and me having conversations about working together more closely, because if you did a Venn diagram of our mission and their mission, there'd be a lot of overlap.
Right.
And we'd like to start working together in those areas of overlap, which certainly include things like sea level rise. And climate change generally, etc.
I have one comment on that, and that, I continue to see that these two organizations don't have the same mission, because community resilience is, if there's a disaster, how do we serve the population of South Thomaston? And that's, planning ahead for warming centers and, flooded roads and all that kind of, so it's disaster planning, where the Conservation Commission is in charge of not the people, but the environment. And so to me, those are both extremely necessary, but they're not the same thing. And I worry that blending them is going to actually dilute each of their mandates. So,
I don't know, I've always seen it as a lot of overlap and.
Yeah, but I mean,
You're, like, I've been spreading myself between between both of them, and, I know there are differences, but there's also a lot of.
Exactly, and where there is overlap, rather than duplicating effort or missing, it makes a lot of sense to both Neil and me to coordinate.
And maybe not speak together, but you speak.
They're cognizant of each other, right?
Yeah, and then,
That's exactly right.
you know what I mean, without, you know, like you both get it together and both speak, because I think I would get confused myself about that, but you know, you really, so you get up and speak, explain, and then Neil get up and speak.
Well, at the.
And then in the end, you could kind of get together.
Yeah. And we
Well,
don't
at
want
the
any
historical,
conflict.
Yeah,
well, there's two different things. At the Historical Society, I would see us talking about what we are currently doing on our separate
Right.
paths.
yeah. Mhm.
But on things like, sea level rise, the impact on shorelines, it's crazy to try and say, well, they're too, they blend.
I
And
know what
that
you
is
mean,
the
though.
area where we'd like to
It's almost as
together.
if you could have one and then the next meeting have the other.
That's what, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I know, I know what you mean.
It's,
But that's just me. I'm not this-
All right, so
So the next, any other thoughts before we move on? Okay. And also I just do want to say that Conservation Commission is also about people. I mean, the Forest Preserve, an important part of that whole grant application was that this is going to be for healthy outdoor recreation for people.
we're not making trails.
It's not like we're only dealing with the natural world. I mean, the overlaps come up all the time. So, just because everything else was happening in this stretch, I am not going to try to give a summary of everything that came up at the Knox County. There's a Knox County, John may not know, the rest of you presumably do. There's now a Knox County Conservation Commission's working group that meets quarterly to share information about what each of us is doing and to find ways to help each other, ask for help, mentor, share resources, share programs, whatever. So I will go into various things that their individuals are doing at another meeting. Just for one thing, at the last meeting, it was kind of chaotic. Camden could not be there, and Thomaston, half an hour into the meeting, lost power. And then because the Zoom was being handled by Rockport, and Megan from Rockport had only been able to be there for 15 minutes, and then she left with leaving it on, but nobody was in a position to let somebody back in. It's a small challenge we'll have to deal with. So we didn't have complete reports from everyone, but the ones who weren't able to report are going to send in reports so that we can have a complete quarterly update from everybody
Where do they meet?
on Zoom.
Hmm?
We do Zoom.
Oh, so this doesn't go, okay. The whole the Knox County Conservation.
All
Commission
six,
does by Zoom.
all six, and we've been inviting Rockland, who has a sustainability coordinator.
Mhm.
And she'd like to join, but hasn't been able to the last couple times. So we'll persevere. But the
So
one,
You're our representative to that group.
Sally and I both do it. Yeah, I created the group. I said, we really need to coordinate better. And so I made it happen because I really felt the need, and everybody else seems to also really appreciate it.
Yeah.
So, but one thing we have been talking about, and the progress is being made, is having a series of dark skies programs. So we have a subcommittee that's been working on that, and they're looking to have programs hopefully late spring or early summer and then into the fall. For one thing, if you want to have a dark skies program outside on Mount Batty or something, it would be good if the sky got dark a little earlier, particularly because we would like to include families with children. So they're thinking of trying to do a program like that in the fall outdoors, but there'll also be a couple of programs where there's a dark skies film, an opportunity for a discussion session, maybe speakers, and then breakout sessions where people, and especially kids, can have things to do to see the impact of dark skies or not dark skies on animals and plant life and so on. So they're finally getting started brainstorming, and hopefully there'll actually be programs by early summer. So I think I won't even try to, as I said, I'll get up into the other stuff at another meeting. So that gets us to Theo.
Is everybody familiar with the volunteer river monitoring project that DEP?
Yeah, well, I'm familiar with it, yeah.
Okay, and just quick oversight thing, it's the DEP wants data, water data, from communities, and they look to the communities to provide the teams that go out and do the work, and they provide the equipment. And John's been a volunteer with that, and we've been doing it ever since Annette and Vivian Newman started the thing and hooked me up when I first had gotten into town and said, "Here, why don't you do this?" But
You've been doing it for quite a while.
yeah, it's quite a while, as a matter of fact. Unfortunately, because I was ill last year, it didn't get done. And I really want to get it back. So we're ready to sample this year, and we're a little late on the uptake because they're DEP's doing the training very soon. So let me.
Do you have dates?
Yes, I do actually. The training is April 30th. And it's for people who haven't done it before. And it's from 7 p.m. to 8:30. So
where, or is it on Zoom or what?
yeah, it's on Zoom, and I thought I had circulated this. If I didn't,
I don't recall, but I might have missed it.
Okay, well, I can get it to you, but here's the thing. Each team had a sponsor, and we used to do it. There used to be one thing that was done for Rockland and for South Thomaston. And that's when Annette Nagel was running it, and there were two teams, one that did Rockland and one that did South Thomaston. The Rockland, they got to be very complicated because part of it is water sample testing. And so Rockland would test the water for us, but they charged $35 per sample. And there was no funding to do that. So then Thomaston, God bless them, was not even in that loop, did it for free when John Fancy was there. And he was such an angel. I didn't know what he was doing. He gave us equipment, sampling bottles, he ran the samples and gave us the data. He's gone now, and I have to go talk to his replacement. But that's not the point. The point is that we're going to do it at all. We have to sign up. We have to tell DEP that we're doing it. And they want to know two things. They want to know who the group coordinator is, which I volunteer to do that. But they also want to know who the sponsoring organization is. And I had created Westgate River Monitoring because I didn't know what else to do. But that is, that was just a, sort of a corkscrew. I would like the Conservation Commission to think about being the sponsoring organization.
Can I just ask the question of what the average schedule is?
Every other week,
Every other week?
8 total,
So 8 weeks or 8 locations every other?
8 times of sampling.
There's 8
So,
locations?
Yeah.
Okay,
No, okay, I'm not
Well, I mean,
If you approve this, I'm only gonna do South Thomaston. I'm not gonna do Rockland,
right,
because I think if this is our program, and if I can convince you that you guys, that the Conservation Commission would be the sponsoring organization.
What are the responsibilities of the sponsor?
Just to be it, so I have something to put down on the application.
It's like, is there any, so money involvement?
No, not at all. They provide the equipment. And but if we want to, now they don't test the samples. And that's, to me, that's really important because that's how you know about your bacterial count.
Mm.
well, why gather it if you don't test it?
Well, I mean, that's exactly that. I mean, what you do with.
So the question comes down is, can we get the testing done for free? Because for the Conservation Commission to pick this up, if there's money involved in it, we need to be very careful about
That's
being
right,
responsible.
you do, but the point is, you don't have to do the bacterial testing to participate. All you have to do is take the equipment they provide, have teams of people to go out every other week, takes about an hour and a half, and take the samples, and they're testing for salinity, dissolved oxygen, very.
Well, who's the
things
they?
that-
Temperature,
Well, no, that's the instrument itself when you do the testing.
right,
It gives you those numbers.
okay.
It doesn't give you
So
the bacteria.
you now have a reason to pick up the water,
Correct.
if you don't do the bacterial testing.
Well-
Okay. All right, so technically speaking, we don't have to do the bacterial testing, right? If it was free, then the Conservation Commission could do it, because I don't have a problem with the Conservation Commission doing this, and I'm thinking about volunteering to be on the crew,
Oh,
because, you know,
How many people do you need?
Well, we do like teams, I like teams of three, because then you got one person handle the equipment, one person to take get down there with the probe, and then one person is recording. And it's in that way, and if you got, I'd love to see maybe 5 people who are trained.
Yeah.
So that nobody has to do it every time.
yeah, I mean, I'll go through the training, but I did this in New Hampshire, so I know what it's about.
I'm just trying to understand. So you said there are several locations.
Okay, let me tell you what they are. They start at, and actually, we're gonna add one, but, if we do it. But they do the Westgate Marsh.
Mm.
Okay, that's the first one. And then the bridge
Mm.
here, and then Valley Hack Cove,
Okay.
and I'm having a brain fart. Oh, Cuddy Cove is one.
Yeah.
And
I'm sorry, what was the fourth?
Now, do you notice those are all on one side of the river?
Right,
We have nothing on the far side. Once we get the equipment and we do what DEP wants, which is the same 4 sites, we can test other sites. So if we in South Thomaston say, we'd like information on this other site over here, now we've got equipment that's been provided by DEP at no cost to us. So it gives us a chance to kind of morph this into something that we think is important to South
right,
Thomaston.
okay.
You see, I think it's very important because I saw some people clamming already on
Oh,
the
gosh.
cove. And I'm not sure it's safe to do that.
It-
And then you don't know where those clams end up, if they sell them or what.
How often do you have to do this? Or should you-
Every
You
other
said
week.
every other week.
Throughout the year?
No, only 4 months, so it's 8 times.
So
We're talking only 8
8 times
times.
and what?
May through something, or when does it start?
Usually we start the 1st of June. The training is April 30th.
It's a Tuesday.
Yeah, and for us, because we're tidal, the times are different. Rockland, no problem. They've got water coming down. It's always the same, every 7 a.m. is always the same. We've got tides.
Mhm.
So it makes it a little more complicated because you want, what they're trying to, if we're gonna test for things, you want the water to be coming off the land,
Mhm.
because then you're catching the runoff.
Not the ocean, right?
Yeah,
so,
you're not catching the salt water coming in, you're catching what's coming off the land, which I think is really important to know. Is there bacteria and
So
whatever?
one group does the 4 location.
Yes,
And so, and then you say so ideally, how many people do you want to recruit?
I would say 4.
4, that's it?
Yeah, I think so, because, well, John, how long did it take you for it?
We always said it was 3 people, but not everybody could make it every week. So if you had, 5 or 6 possibilities, and that would be best, but.
Yeah, because chances with 3 is 2 of them are gonna have a
Right.
bad backup.
Oh, yeah.
And do you have people in mind already?
No, see, here's what I need to do, because before I go out and say, I mean, she wants to know right away, because the training's gonna come up quickly.
Well,
Whether-
sign me up for one. I'll,
Okay,
you
so
know,
can I ask for a vote that the Conservation Commission will be the sponsoring organization? Which we have to put that on the application, and the South Thomaston Conservation Commission would be the sponsoring organization.
No,
for us.
Fine, but I'm not through with questions.
Oh, I wanted to be clear, that's all I'm asking for today.
Right, but I'm not ready to vote on that until I have some more questions answered.
Oh, please.
So. First of all, just to back up, you said there were 4 spots and I couldn't catch the last one.
You know, I'm having a brain fart. It's the Westgate Marsh, it's the town.
You said the marsh, the bridge, Valley Hat Cove, and then,
Cuddy Cove, which is the
how do you spell that?
C-U-D-D-Y.
C-U-D-D-Y.
Okay, okay,
I think it's right there, right? Yeah.
okay.
What was the fourth, another one you did?
We did the marsh.
Yeah.
We did, bridge,
Mhm.
we did Cuddy Cove.
And Valley.
But Ballyhack is down Dublin.
Yeah.
So where you go.
You know where Valley Hat goes down and you've got water? on the
Yeah,
side?
that's where, yeah, okay.
But,
We did, in South Thomaston, in Thomaston, on, right off Route 1.
But why is it look, in one sense, for the Conservation Commission, doesn't actually have to know the locations.
No,
No, I'm just being able to visualize.
Right.
That's
Yeah,
all.
I'm
So,
just trying
what's
to envision the
your next
cost of the operation.
Well,
We are going
that
to
would
be
be good.
responsible for some outlay or not.
Over by the transfer station.
yeah,
We would do
yeah,
that.
that's right. But that was-
I'm really would like to, she has another question.
I have, yes, well. What would be important to test for? I would think bacteria would be important. That if we're going to do this, we ought to have in mind why we're doing it. When John Fancy came to talk to us, he talked about things that would have to be established before the clamming beds could be reopened to anything but, what do you call those people?
Reclamation plan.
Right.
It's called.
Too. And we're gonna need to know bacterial, maybe fecal. It seems like if we're gonna do it, we ought to do something that really,
Well, as was said,
moves the needle.
there's an opportunity
No,
that we
but
may be
let's-
able to get it done for free, otherwise we had to
well,
pay
if not,
for the
I'm not
bacteria.
hearing that we can get it done for free if we go on to the important things to test for.
That's what you said, is that there was a person in
There was,
in Thomas.
who is not there
Going to
anymore.
find out whether she's
All right.
there or not, but in one sense.
If I don't sign this.
we
up,
don't need
We're
to-
not gonna do anything.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to say. She knows that the training is critical. DEP isn't gonna do anything if we don't have volunteers and they train them.
Right,
And
and
you must be trained.
You must be trained.
Where's it held, the training?
It's virtual.
all right,
It can be virtual or she can come in. The first time we actually did it in this room, believe it or not.
right,
And that was at the very beginning.
yeah, so
So-
DEP has a data set that it's interested in, and this equipment provides the information for the data set. There was an opportunity at one point, because somebody was willing to do it for free, or you could pay so much per sample, that you could get a bacterial study done, which is not what the DEP is interested in. They're interested in particulate matter, clarity of water, oxygen content, and temperature.
Exactly.
Which they will get.
Exactly. And they will get that.
And
So it's getting
it's-
something.
It's their organization, and if we're lucky enough, at the same time we're collecting the water, we could end up with the bacterial information, but that's hit or miss. We may get that, we may not, but not getting it isn't a reason not to do it.
Yes.
I don't understand hit or miss. If you take a sample,
because
and test
we
for
don't
it.
have any budget to pay for it, and the opportunity to do it for free, we don't know if it exists right now.
I
She is
hear
going to
you,
find
I
out.
hear you, but
Okay.
if you take a sample, depending on how you test it, you will find out if there is bacteria.
Only if you have it tested for bacteria.
I know, I'm
But-
saying,
but
if,
yes, that
if you
is a
have the
question.
sample, you have the potential
Yes.
to test it.
If you
And if
don't
there's
approve
bacteria,
this,
if there's
we
not
won't be able to
bacteria, that would be
sample.
great.
But if you won't approve this, then we won't be able to sample
Yes.
at all.
We can
because
get
we
there,
will not
but
get
I
there.
don't like it. I just need to have a bigger, clearer picture. I'm not saying we can't have a vote tonight, but I'd like to understand as much as possible what we're getting into and what the potential
What
is for
part
the
don't you
future.
understand, I guess?
Well, the things I've been asking. So first of all, it seems to me that, as John said, not everybody's gonna be available every time, so you need to probably, like, something like 10 people would be good.
We
Or,
don't need that many. We've been doing it for years.
well, if everybody can turn up, if nobody goes on vacation,
That's why we allow for that.
well, how do you do it? If you're gonna do it every 2 weeks, you've got, how many
One
people
person
do you
could
need?
do it.
No,
I mean,
you-
One person has done it.
Right.
Well, but that's not ideal.
It's not ideal. 2 people can really easily do it. 3 is ideal.
Okay,
More than that is too many.
okay, I get it.
Uh,
I'm not saying they'd all turn up every time, but it would be good to have more people trained for when somebody can't turn up.
Right.
I want to get as many people trained as possible, and
Right.
I need to, you know, before we can be trained, we have to see the sponsoring organization.
I hear you, I'm getting there, but I'm trying to understand the shape of this thing before we vote.
Could I just stick a little thing in there, is that the state has other programs for keeping clam flats and mussel beds open. They have a person who tests all these places. They come down to my marina, have. Have they come down this year?
Somebody was
I
explaining,
haven't seen anybody in a while,
somebody was,
but I don't.
This isn't about clams. This is about quality of raw, fresh water running off the land. That's what it's about.
it is about clams if, for example, Catherine sees somebody clamming
No,
in some place that may not be.
the organization that she's talking about is the Department of Transportation, whatever, and Environmental Protection. They're interested in one set of facts, the tools that they give us, deliver those facts. There's an opportunity to take the information we gather or the samples we gather and get more information from them, either free or if we decide to spend money. What she needs is to have us agree that we are willing to do the work that the Department of Environmental Protection wants us to do, which is 8 times a year, go down and gather water from 4 locations. And turn into samples, take the classes and turn into samples. That's all they want from us. Anything else we can derive from it is something that we could spin off
I
and
make a
work on in
motion
the
that
future.
we sponsor.
I second. Any more
That's
discussion?
fine. Everybody in favor?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
All right,
I have a
so
quick
then we
question.
leave you in charge to make the list of volunteers.
I will get right on it. So the
You're all
sponsoring
work.
organization is going to be the South Thompson Conservation Commission.
Yeah.
You're putting up that you have your people.
We've got enough people to do it.
I want to
I'm
get
not worried
back,
about that.
I remember John Fancy, about the testing for bacteria, which obviously would be ideal if we can get it. And I remember him talking about, the Jordan River. And by 131,
Yes.
that was contaminated and you could only find the bacteria after it had rained.
Exactly.
So it matters, you may not find bacteria one time, but the following time you may.
Well, I have a quick thing. I'm very interested. I'm gonna be out of the country for that training. They only have one training.
You know what?
Could I go and
Can
just?
you zoom to it? Because there's a Zoom link here.
It's gonna be 6 hours.
I'm gonna be in split Croatia. I don't think I'm gonna want to.
Okay, you're right.
I'm sorry. I don't-
You know what? Don't worry about it.
Okay,
Because-
but can I even just come and hold things?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Okay.
And then I'll take the next
As
training.
long as at least one person on the team has been trained.
Yeah,
then
that's
we're
very
good.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yes, we just have to get enough.
You could write it up.
Yeah,
Sophia, you have the volunteers already, or you need the volunteers?
First, I need that, what I just got, which is that this committee has agreed to be the
Yeah.
organization. Yes, we're gonna need volunteers, but first I need to get back and tell DEP that yes, we're a go. And then work on training, and I know for a fact that, the training that's on April 30th is gonna, it could be digital, and it's a full training session. People like John and myself and Wes.
So how are you going to appeal to volunteer?
Oh, I'm good at that.
Okay, so it will.
No, we didn't have any problem before, did we, John?
Well, yeah, last year was an issue because you weren't there making sure everything happened, so it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Okay, good.
you're interested.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I am. I'm very interested in that. Actually. I'm not
Great,
sure.
okay. Thank you.
Not gonna Zoom from Europe. I'm sorry.
I think that's the end of the agenda, unless anybody else has anything to bring up. Out of Jackson, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, what you're going to do.
And you too. I just absolutely mean, excellent work. Yeah, no, and I mean, what you've done, and it's just.
Sandra put meeting on me.
Yeah, I mean, and for the selected the meeting to go, when we did this, we all were just part of it. They're able to say. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, you said. And when you're not gonna be at a meeting, for such a town, it's Lindy's, because the secretary's job is to try.
And already the second. Can you imagine? I realized she got, coming to be right.
Yeah, there's somebody left, somebody left it from the budget meeting.
I know, I do.
Um,
All right, now.
okay,
Do something just quick.
At the next meeting.
Big things that has a spout on it and a bunch of paper. The paper is compostable.
Do we walk on?
Bring your own.
Great ones.
No.